What is popping? So a lot of you guys have been asking for a Bard's weapon video. So what I did was I leveled every weapon to 25 besides the short freaking bow because it's the same as the long bow, and I went through all of the perks. Now, please know this is always gonna come down to how you want to play your Bard. I say this a ton in the recording. All right, keep that in mind. Another thing, in my last video, you guys were making minority jokes because I said bards are the minority. So you want to make a freaking black joke. Look, stereotypes hurt my feelings. There is so much going on in our world. I don't understand. Look, there aren't even a ton of black people that play Ashes of Creation, let alone in the MMO space. All right, so please just keep that in mind when you guys make the comments that you make. So with that being said, let's talk about what weapons to use in this video. And as a black man, first weapon I'm using is a gun. All right, so we are gonna do this the same exact way or a very similar way to how we did with the Bard breakdown. I'm gonna go through each of the weapon types and I'm gonna show you how I spec'd it, and I'll try to give you some tips on how you can spec it. I have no weapons equipped. We'll go through the skill trees of all of the weapons that I have right now in my inventory. We'll start with the short bow. I think a lot of people are getting confused on just how to spec things together. That's how I'm understanding it. You want to do something that's going to be good for your class, obviously. Now, what I mean by that, and I said this in my last video, what kind of bard do you want to be? So in the Node War video, I was talking about how I was attacking. I'm like, okay, attack, get out, attack, get out. The way the Bard operates in Ashes of Creation, we're not gonna be getting in there, doing a ton of damage, killing a ton of people, especially after the nerfs. Now, I'm not saying that we aren't a good class because I think we're a phenomenal class, but I think as the game continues to expand and really figure out where this class is going, I think we're going to be pulled back maybe even a bit more, right? Because we have a position to play and that position isn't slaying out. So this is how I look at it. So again, for the short bow, what do we start with? We have the option of bleed or snare. All right, we'll read it together. Snare, movement speed reduced by 25% per stack. And then bleed, suffering 15% bleed damage every second, last 6 seconds. Okay, now for me, I initially think that I want to slow an enemy. That's just me. Or, right, we have Chilling Lament, which slows the enemy. We had talked about this before as well. So you could throw on bleed if you're going for more DPS variation. Me, I want snare. I personally think it's more of a crowd control rather than I want to kill you, I want to kill you, I want to kill you. Rarely, and please, I'm sure you can attest to this, but rarely are you doing a one-on-one in Ashes of Creation. I think, how can we work together as a team? What can I do? Again, what build can I do that's going to help the team out? If I can slow someone down in a node war, that's going to help out because maybe they might have the DPS output that I don't have at the moment to finish off this person, and I'll get an assist. Now, it already gets a bit confusing here, right? Deadly Finisher Chance 1. Deadly Finisher Trigger Chance is increased by 10%. Critical Projectiles increases the critical strike chance of all projectiles. Finisher and Deadly Finisher damage is increased by 3%. That's for Finisher damage 1. And then Power Through 1. All weapon combo attacks gain 3% penetration. I have Snare on. I want to slow people down. You know what? What makes sense to me is triggering that chance a bit more. So I'm going to go 3 times here. So we're gonna up that by 30%. And then I'm like, you know what? My finisher and deadly finisher is increased by 3%. We can do that up to 9%. Here for bards, again, what kind of bard do you want to play? For a long time, I had on refreshing follow through, but with the gear that we have, especially if you're level 25 and if you have decent gear, my gear is still just the Rosethorn set. I haven't done any crazy upgrades and my mana is never suffering. So I'm starting to think I don't need refreshing follow through, to be honest with you. And again, same mindset. Ward, I could heal, but the clerics usually hold down their job. Keen Edge is gonna allow you to do a bit more damage. And I've been throwing that on for all of my weapons. So Keen Edge, all of your finishers and extended finishers have 25% increased critical strike chance. This bonus increases by an additional 25% for 10 seconds after casting an ability, stacking up to 2 times. So now it's gonna get a bit more confusing again. These they get me here, I'm not gonna lie to you. These little nodes on the sides. Disable duration just increases duration of outgoing disabling effects by a multiplier of their base duration. Penetration ignores a part of your target's armor / magic resist. Critical damage, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. This is gonna increase your critical damage by 5%. And then critical hit avoidance, again, I think this is self-explanatory. It's gonna give you an avoidance of 5%. So again, what kind of bard do you want to be? I'm going to keep asking that because that's what you need to figure out. And that's why we have so many songs and abilities, because we can switch back and forth and all of that fun stuff. So for me, I'm thinking, you know what, well, if I have snare on, maybe we can go disabling duration. But again, we have to remember that we have a whole nother node up here that's going to do the same exact thing. What do I have on? I have on critical damage. All right, say I leave on critical damage, and then weapon proc duration. Weapon proc duration or damage focus or weapon combo attacks do 1% more damage. What do I want to do? Well, if this is Keen Edge and this is going to increase critical strike chance, I want to increase the duration of that by 15%, by another 15, and by another 15. And then if it's critical, I will do critical damage by another 5%. I was trying to figure out where I messed up. I didn't finish leveling this up, and it's essentially the same thing as the longbow, and we'll get to that as well. We can probably do that one next, actually. I get to the next node. All right, what do I want? Bleed or snare? Now here, you could actually mix it up. We already had snare. Maybe we want to throw on bleed, but again, I'm selfish. I want more snares. Give me more snares. And I want some more critical damage because we already had that with Keen Edge. And then deadly extended finisher, trigger chance is increased by 10%, the same as it was down here with a regular finisher. So now I want to increase that by 10, or I can increase the damage. Again, I'm not too necessarily worried about the damage because we are playing that bard class. And that's where it stopped. We'll go to the longbow next, because this is essentially the same setup. All right, so now with the longbow, what do we want to start out with? Wound or stagger? So with the short bow, we had bleed or stagger, but we could do wound. What is wound gonna do? Reduces healing received by 5% per stack, up to a maximum of 50% at 10 stacks. We'll throw that on. Listen, you're gonna find with me that I want the chance for these things to happen. If you are continuously attacking, you're pressuring people, and the chances for these things to happen are increased, that's what you're gonna get, and that's what I want. We have deadly finisher chance, which is gonna up the chance again. Finisher damage 1, finisher, deadly finisher, that's increasing the damage. Power through, we talked about that. All weapon combo attacks gain 3% penetration. Now that's gonna be really good if you are going for a DPS build, 100%, because again, it's gonna ignore that armor and magic resist, right? And then we have critical projectiles, increases the critical strike chance of all projectiles by 1%. All right, I did that 3 times. Why did I do it 3 times? Because we have on Keen Edge. Yes, sir. It's gonna increase that critical chance again. What do we have here? Critical damage. Critical damage. Again, I told you the bows are essentially the same. We are going to increase the duration of the weapon proc effects. And then up here, again, I had mixed it up. I put on stagger. If I can slow you and then I can get on wound, that's going to put myself and the party that I'm in a solid positioning. You could go double stare. You could go double wound. Again, how do you want to go about it? Now, when we get to the swords, I think that's when you're really going to see the skills like penetration shine. In my personal opinion, you're going to see penetration and then critical damage. Critical hit avoidance, I'm really not too worried about, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of things can be avoided just by staying out of the way. You're gonna get hit regardless. That's just kind of how I look at it. So we go stagger, disable duration, increases your disable duration by 5%. We got that twice. Deadly extended finisher, we want that 3 times. And then here, for our top skill for the longbow, we have rhythmic swings. What this is gonna do, Every finisher and extended finisher increases your chance of a deadly finisher or deadly extended finisher by 25%. Stacks up to 2 times. Crushing blows. Finishers, extended finishers, deadly finishers, and deadly extended finishers have 10% increased base damage and 10% increased critical damage. That's actually not too bad. And then Inner Fire increases health regeneration, mana regeneration, and stamina regeneration by 0.02% of max HP per tick. That stacks up to 2 times. Deadly finishers and deadly extended finishers grant 2 stacks and restore all additional 1% maximum HP, mana, and stamina. Again, personally, I feel like those things are able to be managed. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of how I feel when I'm playing. I don't think I need any more abilities that are going to help me do that. Where else can I put this that's going to help me a bit more? Now we can increase the chance of a deadly finisher or deadly extended finisher and finisher, all this by 25%, or we could just do some damage. And I think these are both great options. I wanted to go rhythmic swings just because I'm a betting man, right? And now we can either go left to Bullseye or right to Heartseeker. Bullseye, your finishers used within the next 5 seconds, they gain a 25% bonus critical strike chance. And then obviously they get hyped up whenever you do double Bullseye or inspiring Bullseye. Heartseeker, a deadly extended finisher immediately after a deadly finisher applies bleeding to the target. We had talked about bleeding on the short bow. Okay, your next ability hit within 10 seconds has 5% chance increase accuracy, 5% chance increase damage, and 10% increase critical damage. These bonuses double against bleeding targets. And then again, these get hyped up as well when you do them with flexible extended finishers and then flexible finishers. And now you can talk about synergies with your party. This is good if you want to do some damage and then even give that to your homies, right? You can apply that to your party members, right? But here, the deadly extended finisher, after a deadly finisher, applies bleeding. So depending on how much those things are proccing, and we have our percentages up for that, we can get some more synergies going here, even without our party members. So that's why I have this like this. Now we're doing swords, but this is a one-handed sword. Now, there aren't a lot of good one-handed spell swords out there, but for those of you that want to run around with a one-handed sword, I got you, right? How are we starting out here? We can either bleed, snare, or wound. Now remember, this is going to be different because now with the bows, you can apply things from a long range. Cool, you have to get up close now. If you are gonna use a one-handed sword or even a two-handed sword, you have to get in there to do that damage. I don't really necessarily care about snaring you. If I'm trying to snare you, it's because I want that space, right? If I'm up on you, I want to do a lot of DPS. That's just me though. I want to go bleed. I want to up that trigger chance, and then I want to up that damage as well. So we're going to increase that damage by a total of 9%. Remember, I was like, oh, during the one-handed sword and two-handed swords, this is where you're going to see penetration shine. I don't have it selected, but it could be a viable option depending on whatever the mob is. Maybe it's a certain mob that you're like, oh, well, Firebrand has X, Y, and Z. Tumok has yada, yada, yada. We need that penetration. I'm not necessarily looking at it that way, so I'm not too worried about that. So I just want to up that damage right there. Boom, we're back to Keen Edge to be 1000%. It's probably going to be on all of them for me. We could do Disable Duration. That's going to help bleed. Or again, we could do that penetration. To be completely honest with you, I don't think it's a bad idea because remember, you also have another node here as well. And then I have Wound. So it's like, sure, we can extend the time of these things, but at the same time, like, say we throw on penetration, which I'm gonna do, that's gonna be some more damage, you know. And then now right here, instead of having the disable duration, we have the weapon proc duration, which is already gonna increase the duration of it all, right? So here I did a little mixing and matching. I have bleed and then I have wound. I do want to up the duration for wound, and then my trigger chance by 10%. Inner Fire, that's with the health, mana, stam, don't want that. Crushing Blows, 10% increased damage and 10% increased crit. And then Rhythmic Swings, which is gonna be that 25% chance for the finishers. We want that because that's wound and bleed. Concussion, a deadly extended finisher immediately after a deadly finisher deals 25% more damage and applies shaken. Or you have Sword Master Swiftness. Deadly finishers and deadly extended finishers increase your physical attack speed by 15% for 5 seconds. That's how I'd go for the one-handed sword though. Now we can go to two-handed. All right, for the two-handed sword, it's essentially the same, right? They essentially follow the same. Yeah, look at this. It's essentially spec'd out the exact same. I'm either only going to have the one-handed sword on with the shield, which I never use. I literally only did it for y'all. I did it for this. I did it for y'all. I think right now the Bis is actually a spell sword. I think it's that in a book. I like running book and scepter. The, you know, actual damage when you're actually hitting someone, bonking someone over the head with something does a lot of damage. I like it. Again, two-handed sword is essentially spec'd out the exact same way. We have bleed, we have snare, we have wound, up here, bleed, snare, wound, same thing. Keen edge, what do we want to do? We want penetration. Got penetration on, literally the same exact thing. Concussion or Swordmaster Swiftness, right? So those are the same. The only difference is with the one-handed, you'd be able to throw on a shield. Moving on to the fun stuff. We have our wand left, we have our scepter left, and then we have our book left. All right, so with the wand, it's very different here. So now, what do you want starting out, right? You want volatile? Do you want burning? Or do you want chilling? And these all come with their special effects. Chilling, it applies chill to your target. Movement speed reduced by 50%. Lasts 6 seconds. Duration can be extended. We got that. Burning deals fire damage every second. Lasts 8 seconds up to 24 seconds. Okay, and then volatile, magical mitigation reduced by 15%. Lasts 6 seconds. Duration can be extended. All right, so now volatile was good. Volatile was going to be lit if you are throwing every magical ability you got at them 1000%. I want that to proc. I'm probably always just going to have it proc. I want to get as many debuffs on whoever I am fighting as possible. I don't, sure, is the one shot, one kill thing going to be great? 1000%. But are we realistically in the long term going to have that with the Bard? Probably not. Right? You have to play off your strengths. So if we get that to proc, and then we can do increases the duration, all weapon proc effects by 15%. So now we're going to increase that volatile effect by 15, by 30, by 45. Now, obviously, we could do 5% more base damage, which isn't bad, or we could do weapon combo damage is increased by 1% per application of burning, chilled, or volatile on the target, up to 3%. That's not bad either. That's just not what I want. I always want the trigger chance, and now for the wand, I want the weapon proc. And now for the wand, I want the weapon proc effect to be increased. So same thing here, right? Again, keen edge. This is not gonna change. It's not gonna change. I'm gonna be honest with you. If there are any bars out there that are like, yo, Q, you gotta use refreshing follow through or ward, for sure. And listen, I've been using refreshing follow through literally up until like yesterday. It wasn't until I really sat down and started making this video and I'm like, yo, maybe I should try keen edge. So I'm gonna try keen edge out for a while. A few of you guys in my last video, you guys were like, yo, get off the stage, it's lit. What are you talking about, Q? You're an idiot. And now, would you look at me here being a hypocrite? I have it on my bar because it is pretty lit. Same thing with Chilling Lament. I didn't want it during phase 1 and now we have it. So please let me know in the comments. So we're gonna go keen edge here. So now what do we want? We want the extended finisher damage. We want to increase that damage by 3%, which is cool. And then here we have projectile damage. Increases the damage of weapon projectiles by 2%. That's not bad because we're obviously shooting projectiles. Or we could do all weapon combo attacks, deal 1% more damage. I want more than that. Or we could do the damage is increased by 3% for the finisher and deadly finisher. I would either go finisher or projectile. Personally, I would go either of those. That's just me, right? We're already increasing the damage here for extended finisher and deadly finisher, and then we could do finisher and deadly finisher here. This is fun. This is real fun. We could go perfect timing, reduces the cooldown of the next ability you cast by 5 seconds, or we could go echo. When you damage an enemy with an ability within 5 seconds, strike again for bonus damage. I've used perfect timing. It's not bad. Obviously it's on, but I was respecking my book and I'm like, yeah, I want echo for sure. So we want Echo. I want Echo to stack 2 times. I want it to stack 3 times. I want it to stack 4 times. What the heck? And then I want to trigger that chance. Let's read that again. When you damage an enemy with an ability within 5 seconds, strikes again for bonus damage. That's easy damage we're missing out on. Perfect timing isn't necessarily bad. It just reduces the cooldown of the next ability you cast by 5 seconds. I would rather go for damage in this scenario, right? Where these two are pit against each other, right? We want it to proc, we want it to stack. So here we either have Prism or Catalytic Projectiles. For Prism, after a deadly finisher, your chance for a deadly extended finisher is increased by 10%, and the base damage of your next extended finisher or deadly finisher is increased by an additional 5%, okay? Or Catalytic Projectiles, after a standard finisher, your next extended finisher or deadly extended finisher has 5% increased damage and 10% increased chance to critically hit. These bonuses double against burning, conflagrating, and shocked targets. We want this over Prism. That's just me, because we want, listen, if we put the chance on for volatile burning or chilling to happen, that's synergy right there. We want that. And here we have enough points to go both. Arcane Amplifier. Deadly extended finishers now deal 25% more damage if the previous hit was a deadly finisher. And then Essence Harvest. Every time you trigger a deadly finisher or deadly extended finisher, you have a 50% chance to increase magical power by 3% for 10 seconds, stacks up to 5 times, 100% you need that. Wand is pretty lit, I would say, for sure. All right, we'll go Scepter next. Scepter is sort of similar to what we were doing earlier with, I think it was the sword. Yeah, but this is the only one that has daze, right? This is the only one that has daze. So we know we have stagger, daze, 25% chance to trigger a deadly finisher that applies daze. Magical casting speed reduced by 25% for 8 seconds. Duration can be extended up to 20 seconds by subsequent application. I don't think that's necessarily bad. I think that more so depends on the type of enemy that you are facing. So here, what do we got? Trigger chance, we want trigger chance for stagger, and then all weapon combo attacks deal 1% more damage. I don't really want that. I think we're gonna go finisher damage. We could go penetration. I don't think I want penetration on the scepter either though, because whenever I'm using the scepter, I'm not using the scepter. If I'm using the sword, chances are I low-key want to be in there doing some damage. But it also depends what I'm pairing the sword with. I will say my favorite combo, and I think the last one that I have to show you guys after this is the book, but my favorite combo is the scepter in the book. And the scepter can be interchanged. It's either a scepter or a sword, and 100% the book. There are some book haters out there. The book is aesthetically the best weapon choice in Ashes. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Anyway, we're gonna go stagger. We wanna up the chance for that. And then I'm lying. I do want weapon combo damage because, again, I'm gonna have the book on. Whatever weapons you have, you get all of those effects. So the scepter paired with the book, I do want those weapon combo effects, 1000%. Refreshing follow through, told you guys I had this on. I think I am gonna go Keen Edge here. I think here we can keep disable duration. I think that's fine. Again, it's paired with the book. Weapon proc duration, I like that. We could go weighted follow through. This is a damage is increased by 1% and penetration by 5%. That's huge. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's actually freaking huge. Dude, you have penetration by essentially 15%, and if you threw it on here, that's another 10% by both. That's pretty big. Me though, I want stagger. Again, I want to keep those enemies at a distance. I want to control the way the battle's going. I want to be zooming all over, and I want you where I want you. Deadly extended finisher, we're triggering the chance. Back to snare, or we could do damage. I want the chance. And then we have inner fire on here. Again, same thing, but I think I want to go rhythmic swings. Actually, yeah, I do, because again, we want that snare. And then we're gonna go concussion, and we talked about concussion earlier. And then too, if we can apply shaken, physical mitigation reduced by 15%. So it's like, look, it might not seem like we're doing a ton, but when you add these things up, that's what it comes down to. You understand what I'm saying? That's really what it comes down to. And also, do not forget, if you are going out there to be a DPS bard, you need to be running around with 3 buffs of conflict on. That's just gonna up the damage for the party. Make sure you have that on. It's gonna up everything. And then last but not least, we have the glorious book. So I started out with burning. We're gonna do 5% more base damage. That's fine. The trigger chance is cool. And then weapon proc effects by 15, procking that burning. We have Keen on here. Now, to be honest with you, I could drop 3 of these to add 3 up here. We can do weapon combo attacks. We can do the damage of weapon projectiles, or we can do the finisher damage is increased by 3. And that's probably what I would go for, either that or the weapon projectiles. Because whenever you're using the freaking book, bro, you hit people from Connecticut to like Albuquerque. It's ridiculous, dude. It's that splash damage, right? That's like the only complaint that I have about the book. Similar to the wand, right? We have Echo or perfect timing. We want Echo, you know what I'm saying? We want it to stack, and then I want it to proc. And then back here, same thing, projectiles, amplifier, and then essence harvest. You want those things. So that's how I have things spec'd out. But please look at this in terms of like, hey, if you're trying to make a build, what build do you want to make? I like to sit back during node wars, during big fights. I want to sit back. I want to throw on some effects. I want somebody to come through and then punch this dude in the mouth straight up. That's what I want. I don't have to be in there getting all the kills, getting all of the glory, because that's not my role. Don't get clouded by doing something that's not in your job description. This is not my job. My job is not to sit here and kill a ton of people. That's not my job. I'm the cheerleader. Go. If he can't do it, no one can. Bro, that's what we're doing. We're cheerleading here. Bro, all these caravans, I'm about to be, what the heck is happening, bro? These dudes have a train of, what is happening? Oh, it's envious. In Polar, oh my gosh, dude. What the heck? It's like the 2 most evil people in the world got together and like now they're doing freaking world domination. What is happening? Oh my gosh, bro. This is insane. Don't care. They still have more coming. Bro, this is actually OD. This is actually OD. Bro, they still have more coming. Can you believe these people? So anyway, that's what you want to run. And that's how you go about it. I can't, listen, I know some of you guys are being like, yo, like, tell me what to run. I can't tell you what to run. I can tell you what I run during the node war. During the node war, I was running the scepter and the magical bow, right? Only because my magical power is the highest right now too, though. You know, but now let's look at that. Let's look at how these things are panning out. Actually, this is actually a really good point of reference. So if I'm using the scepter, all right, we have stagger on, and I know we have keen edge, right? Rhythmic swings, cool, and then concussion. Okay, cool. What do we have on for the longbow? So now maybe I want to switch some things up here because I have stagger on. Maybe I can throw on wound. Maybe I can throw on 2 wounds because we already have on 2 staggers with the scepter. You get what I'm saying? So it's all going to come down to how you want to play. Now, let me show you in a perfect world. If I had, you know, this gear, right? Because I told you guys, where's my book? Oh, shoot. I thought I deleted it. I was about to cry. Okay. So now in a perfect world, dude, these dudes are still running caravans. Get out of here. So now, okay, scepter, right? We know we have stagger on for spellbook. Okay, so now we're slowing that target down, and now we're applying burn, and then at the same time we're going to do echo. When you damage an enemy with an ability within 5 seconds, strike again for bonus damage. So do you see what I'm talking about with just the synergies? It comes down to, again, what do you want to do? And I don't want to say how far you're willing to go, but you really have to sit down and figure out, okay, I want this, this is what I'm running with, this is going to be better for this, right? So it's really intricate. Even giving you guys gameplay, it's gonna vary. I want this to be more like a, this is how I'm looking at it, right? Because I can sit here and give you a rotation of a high damage output. A lot of people are running DPS is what it is. I'll show you how I operate. We'll go to our nice little side up here, and you know what, we'll go see our Minotaur homies. Who's hitting me? Okay, so this guy wants smoke. So again, this is what it looks like with the scepter and the spellbook. All right, boom, turn me up. Burning and, look at that, burning and shocked. This is what I'm talking about. Turn me up. 594. Great. I like that. Personally, this isn't even the greatest gear, but I like that. Now, mind you, that's Menacing Melody and then Tragedy's up as well, right? We haven't even used Fortissimo yet. But mind you, I'm just doing base damage. This isn't even a full rotation. Let's get a full rotation here real quick. Discord, staggered, shocked. Turn me up. Boom. And that's another thing. You have to remember, what debuffs are you going to put on by yourself in terms of your kit, right? That also plays a part in it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of research, to be completely honest with you. And I know for a fact that I am not doing it the best, but I'm doing something that works for me. So as long as you can find something that works for you, I think you'll be all right. But that is how I run my weapons in Ashes of Creation. I'm still experimenting with what I want to use for weapons. It's gonna change. The metas are gonna change. We all know this. So I always say, play what you think is the most fun, obviously. I am never going to say don't use the spellbook, besides for splash damage, but I love the spellbook. Aesthetically, I think it makes us bards look heat. That's just me though. What are your thoughts? Let your boy know in the comment section below. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.